Live. Okay. Welcome to Transformed and Renewed. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like the page. Don't miss it. Make sure you like the page, share it, and enjoy because I'm excited that you're joining us today. Got a great one for you in a short amount of time. So I hope you enjoy this jammed packed session. And if you don't know me, Jerry Thomas, the host, and I got a great topic for you. So yesterday I had my annual physical. So if you haven't had your physical, it's always good to get at least an annual checkup to make sure that everything is going well with your body. And so since I had my last one, the last time I had my physical, my doctor pretty much told me that Jerry, you need to lose some weight. And I was like, okay, I've seen that I was overweight myself based on, my BMI, which is the body mass index. And so I was like, okay, I was already thinking about like ways that I could lose weight. So it wasn't something that was far fetched because I had already been thinking about really toning up my body a little better. And so what he said was, just I guess confirmation, not that I needed any more confirmation, but it was. And so, fast forward to today, went in yesterday, and I was feeling very confident because I knew I had put in the work. Now, not going to mention my doctor's name, but it's not like he's a small guy himself. But, you know, um, I really did take, the feedback and also just kind of a lot of goals that I had in mind. And since this time last year to this time today or yesterday, I was able to walk into the doctor's office. I was feeling very confident, and as I waited on my doctor to come in, because usually it can be like a 20 minute, sometimes 30 or even 40-minute delay before you actually see the doctor. And as I was waiting, I was greeted by the a medical student who was actually my doctor's assistant, and he was taking my physical, my vitals, blood pressure, and all of that. And when he looked at my previous weight and compared it with my current weight, he was, pretty shocked because he was like, "Oh, it seems like you lost 20," and then he had to, correct himself because your boy didn't put in about 30 pounds. You feel me? But anyway, he was like, "Oh, it seems like you lost 30 pounds," and I was like, "Yeah, just been eating a little better and just working on my physique." So me, I'm just modest, but that's essentially what happened, and so he takes my physical, and then my actual doctor walks in, and he's usually pretty upbeat, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going? You doing pretty good?" Yeah. And so he got my physicals, and or just looked at the results, and then when he looked at my previous weight to my current weight, he's like, "Man, seems like you lost some about 30 pounds." I can't exaggerate. That's exactly like he sounds. And I could tell he was very, very excited. Like, it was like he, proposed to a wife or something, just by his, expressions. And so I was like, okay, for me, I was just, chill. I was like, oh, yes, I'm just eating better, keeping my body in shape. I was just very modest. But, it was just a great feeling to just see that, because I'm sure not every doctor may have the same, story from patient to patient. It's not every day you see a patient that actually like drops the pounds, because most people they pretty much say, okay, I could lose a little bit, but I took that to a different level because, like I said, I was already thinking about toning my body up, and I decided to really focus, put in the work, and that has also led me to do some other amazing things. And so, one thing I wanted to share with you, and kind of going back to, tonight's subject was how I stunned my doctor, and that was just by really being disciplined, sticking with the basics, and hopefully, these are some principles I can share with you. The things that worked for me in terms of how I was able to lose about 30 pounds or more, and over the course of a year, and it actually happened in a short amount of time, but just based on when I actually had my physicals results. And so one of the other things that I actually did that helped me to lose the weight, and I don't also like to lose weight just any type of way. I really like to find, the natural, holistic ways to really lose the weight. So, by food is essentially how I did it, and essentially eating more fruits and vegetables. I know that can be boring to a lot of people, but that is the truth of the matter. And as I increased my fruit and vegetable intake, from, well, if it was from 5 or 7 ounces to over a pound of vegetables a day. And sometimes I just pour out the vegetables and don't even measure it sometimes because I have an idea of what I should be consuming or targeting based on my current meal plan. But sometimes, I also have to you know, get different varieties of fruits and vegetables to make sure that I'm getting, good antioxidant activity as well as different nutrients from different foods. And even with research that I continue to do, sometimes I may say, okay, well, the research shows that this is pretty high in this level than I typically would do with. And so that's one way that I really was able to lose some of the weight was really focusing on what I ate and cutting back on a lot of processed foods. Not that I ate a ton, but really, not including it in my weekly shopping, I would put it that way. Because one way that can really help you, especially if you have a sweet tooth or if you like a lot of snacks, is just not picking it up in the first place or even bringing it into the house or even being close to it. Sometimes, if you have to close your eyes just to walk past it, then please do that. But for me, it was really just a matter of staying focused and really increasing, fruit and vegetable consumption. I often think about the scripture in Genesis 1, that talks about how, God provided everything that was green, the seed for it. And when I think about that, I think about everything, that was in seed form. And, that leads me to think about fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, things like that, that I know that I can increase more of because, it's actually a lot of power. And what I mean by power is nutrients that are contained in each one of those sources. And so, for me, that was something that, I really worked on was really not only improving my intake of vegetables and fruits, but also just being aware of, you know, when I may be out and about, still keeping that in mind because some people they may say, well, I'm not near my usual food, so I just have to get whatever. But for me, I still take a mindful approach because you know you can eat whatever. I can't tell you what to eat, but then it's also a matter of the calories do count, regardless of what any fitness, nutrition freak or expert may say. The calories do count. They would go somewhere. You can't just say, I want to have $1 million and you never actually do the math to actually calculate, what it will require for you to achieve that. And so I look at it the same way. You really have to be intentional about what you want to do. And so this was one way is by focusing on increasing my fruit and vegetable content, as well as just my nutrition in general. But another way, and again, I know it may sound boring, but is by actually doing some physical exercise weekly. And I know for some people, it can just kind of be daunting to actually spend 5 minutes or more doing, intense exercise. But honestly, it doesn't have to be that intense. As long as you want to make sure that your heart rate is up, but also that you're able to do exercises that don't actually hurt you. And what I mean by hurt is cause, your bone to be misaligned or cause you to have a back spasm, if you do it incorrectly. But you also, what I like to recommend for you to consider is trying, a variety of exercises, at least ones that you feel comfortable doing. And then as are able to do those for some time, transitioning to different ones because each exercise is able to you know, not only work the body muscles or different parts of the body, but it also helps to balance that. So sometimes people may say, I want to lose a lot of belly fat, but you have to realize that if you're only doing exercises targeted towards belly fat, you could trim or you could trim all of that belly fat, but you may have an awkward, body shape just because you weren't really focusing on toning the other parts. And so for me, I like to think of it in terms of doing a whole body, routine. So one day is usually legs for me, the other day is usually back, next day is usually arms or shoulders. And so I switch it up that way because, if you can balance each muscle group, then this is going to allow for equal distribution and it doesn't cause you to look awkward. And I'm sure you've seen some people who look very strong or fit, but they have that slight awkwardness look to them. So you don't want to be that way. If you don't, then this is what I recommend for you to consider is, one, really doing weekly exercise, and not only weekly, but actually, several times a week. So you can start out with 3 times, but then increase that. And then even if you're doing like 20 minutes, increase that to like 30 to 40 minutes. And again, this just helps to keep, your blood flowing. And it also helps to, improve your cognitive, um, improve your cognitive, um, mental behavior. So that's another way that helped me to really lose the weight naturally. Like I said, as you can see, I haven't mentioned anything about supplements or anything of that nature. But the route that I took was really just focusing on, my nutrition. And that's the way that I wanted to do. Like, that's the way I like to do anything is really starting, with it, with the bare basics, before technology, whatever. I like to start with things that were already here and then the physical fitness aspect. But then another part, the third part, is you want to also make sure you're increasing your water intake. So again, these are tips that work or things that I've done, but also tips that you may want to consider if you are thinking about really improving your weight, so reducing it. You also want to, like I said, focus on increasing your water intake. And sometimes people may say, well, I get water from drinking coffee or teas, but if you add sugars to those, then that may not count the same. Of course, it is water, but you want water that is not bound, to anything like free water that can actually go into the different parts of your organs and actually do, the routine work that is required to keep you operating optimally without any flaws in your body. And so for me, taking these steps can really help along the way. And I'll just throw in some additional tips, benefits that from research have been shown to also help with reducing weight. You can drink some apple cider vinegar. I recommend not drinking it straight up because it is very strong and it will scorch your throat like a volcano. So please, please don't, try to drink that straight up. You want to dilute that. So typically what I do is I may take half of a tablespoon or a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, add it to a bottle of water or about 8 to 12 ounces of water. And sometimes I'll drink that in the morning before I actually eat anything. And then I'll likely wait about 30 minutes to an hour before I do eat anything. So that way I give it time to actually, start working in the body. Or if you don't like apple cider vinegar, you can also substitute a lemon and kind of dilute that the same way. You can take a tablespoon of lemon and just squeeze it and pour it into like 8 or 12 ounces of water. Drink that in the morning. Usually I like to drink either that or apple cider vinegar in the morning because it kind of helps to kind of flush out, again, any toxins in my body and kind of helps me to get the day started. So that's typically what I do that I can also help with, reducing the weight. And there have been studies that actually show that vinegar can definitely help with weight reduction. So some tips for you to consider. And again, I didn't want this to be too long, but wanted you to know how I shocked my doctor by really getting my body in shape. And so, if you are considering doing the same thing, you want to get your body in shape, I recommend you really consider some of these tips that I mentioned. And also, be sure that you follow Robody because, again, like I said, I'm sharing a lot of tips with you, so you can never miss out. The information I'm sharing right now, you can actually see it by making sure that you sign up, subscribe to our channel at Robody 1212, all platforms: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and make sure you go to robody.org. That is robody.org. Sign up for our email newsletter, which I send out often, sending you some jam-packed content so that you can always stay in the loop. And I want to make sure that you are getting the latest yet quality content because I don't do spam. I don't do none of that. But I want to send you some quality content. So if you liked what you saw tonight, make sure you stay in the loop so I can keep you in the loop. All right. And so until next time, hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that you are enjoying the week and the weekend. And I will see you next time. Later.